Life, in its essence, is a reflection of thought. James Allen opens As a Man Thinketh with a revolutionary yet elegantly simple proposition. The mind is the master architect of human destiny. Every circumstance, condition, and outcome is intimately connected to the thoughts we cultivate. This principle is timeless, transcending culture, era, or geography, and it is as relevant in the high-tech corridors of Silicon Valley as it is in the bustling streets of Mumbai or Lagos. The book invites readers to examine the quality, direction, and impact of their thoughts, not as abstract philosophy, but as the tangible forces shaping life. If you love powerful, insightful, and life-changing books, then you found the right channel. Every week, we break down the ideas that transform mindsets, elevate success, and shift lives. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you'll want to catch every book we review. Let's continue. At the heart of Allen's philosophy is the recognition that thought precedes action. Nothing external manifests without first existing internally. Our actions, character, and even health are rooted in the mind's landscape. In modern America, this principle finds resonance in the field of neuroplasticity, where scientists demonstrate that repeated thought patterns physically shape brain pathways, reinforcing habits, attitudes, and emotional responses. Globally, cultural practices like meditation in India, mindfulness in Japan, and reflective spiritual practices across Africa illustrate a universal understanding that thought precedes reality. By mastering thought, individuals gain the power to shape circumstances rather than passively react to them. From thought arises character, the enduring foundation of life. Allen argues that noble, disciplined, and constructive thoughts produce noble and constructive character. Conversely, negative, indulgent, or chaotic thoughts give rise to weakness, disorder, and misfortune. Consider American leaders like Warren Buffett, whose disciplined thought patterns underpin ethical business practices and consistent decision-making. Globally, figures like Malala Yousafzai embody how focused, principled thinking forms the character capable of sustaining courage, resilience, and purpose. Character, according to Allen, is not merely inherited or circumstantial. It is consciously cultivated through habitual thought. The next insight naturally emerges. Circumstances are shaped by thought. Allen asserts that people do not merely endure life, they attract conditions aligned with their predominant mental patterns. A person who nurtures fear, resentment, or passivity will often experience life through challenges and setbacks. Conversely, a person cultivating optimism, clarity, and proactive thought attracts opportunities, growth, and constructive circumstances. In contemporary America, entrepreneurs like Sarah Blakely exemplify this principle, turning repeated rejection into motivation and opportunity through focused, persistent thought and belief. Globally, innovators in Africa and Asia demonstrate that mindset shapes resilience in resource-limited or unstable environments. Life circumstances are rarely random. They echo the quality of thought consistently applied. Building upon this understanding is the principle of health and thought. Allen explains that mental patterns directly influence physical well-being. Stress, anxiety, and negative thinking correlate with disease and diminished vitality, while positivity, clarity, and mindfulness support health, vigor, and longevity. In the United States, research in psychosomatic medicine confirms the link between mental state and physical health, with practices like cognitive behavioral therapy and meditation demonstrating tangible improvements in wellness. Globally, holistic traditions such as Ayurveda in India or traditional Chinese medicine reinforce that harmony of thought, emotion, and lifestyle cultivates physical vitality. By mastering thought, individuals not only shape destiny, but enhance the vitality necessary to pursue it. Alan Dinh emphasizes purpose as the guiding principle of thought. Life directed by aimless, scattered thinking drifts, while a life anchored by a clear purpose achieves focus, energy, and fulfillment. Consider Elon Musk, whose relentless focus on advancing technology and space exploration channels thought into visionary outcomes. Similarly, Malala Yousafzai's unwavering commitment to education demonstrate that clear purpose focuses mental energy toward impactful, measurable change. Purpose gives thought direction, transforming mere mental activity into a force capable of shaping both character and circumstances. Closely linked to purpose is the lesson of self-discipline. Alan underscores that thoughts must be deliberately chosen, refined, and aligned with desired outcomes. Unchecked, the mind drifts into distraction, negativity, or fear. The disciplined mind, by contrast, cultivates consistency, resilience, and clarity. In modern America, elite athletes, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders employ techniques like mental visualization, journaling, and structured routines to cultivate disciplined thought. Globally, students in high-performing educational systems, monks in contemplative traditions, and emerging social innovators demonstrate that mastery of thought requires vigilance and commitment. Self-discipline is the bridge between insight and tangible achievement.
The natural consequence of disciplined, purposeful thought is achievement. Alan makes clear that success is not a product of luck, external circumstance, or inheritance. It is the inevitable result of sustained, focused, and constructive thinking. In the United States, entrepreneurs who envision and execute on innovative ideas exemplify this principle. Their accomplishments are manifestations of a clear, persistent mental pattern translated into action. Globally, social entrepreneurs in communities facing systemic adversity illustrate how thoughtful planning and resilience produce transformative outcomes. Achievement, in Alan's framework, is the natural reflection of the inner life made tangible. With achievement comes the lesson of serenity and mental equilibrium. Alan highlights that the mind in harmony, free from inner conflict, fear, or confusion, experiences peace even amidst external challenges. In America, mindfulness practices are increasingly adopted in corporate and educational settings to cultivate focus, emotional stability, and creativity. Globally, contemplative practices ranging from Zen meditation in Japan to silent retreats in Europe and Africa demonstrate the universal value of cultivating inner equilibrium. Serenity is not merely the absence of challenge, but the mastery of thought that allows composure and insight to flourish, regardless of circumstance. Alan extends his philosophy to relationships and social influence, explaining that the quality of thought shapes interactions, connections, and impact on others. Individuals with constructive, compassionate, and clear thinking naturally influence others positively, attracting collaboration, support, and mutual growth. In the U.S., leaders like Oprah Winfrey exemplify this principle, using clarity of thought and vision to inspire millions. Globally, humanitarian leaders, educators, and innovators create ripple effects by embodying constructive mental patterns that influence communities and institutions. The mind does not exist in isolation. It shapes and is shaped by interaction with others. Finally, Part 1 concludes with the lesson that thought is an instrument of freedom and transformation. Alan asserts that by mastering thought, individuals gain the ability to shape not only their external circumstances, but their inner world, achieving freedom from fear, limitation, and unproductive conditioning. Modern psychological research in both America and globally supports this. Cognitive reframing, positive psychology, and mindfulness interventions demonstrate that deliberate changes in thinking can transform emotional, social, and professional outcomes. Thought, when consciously directed, becomes the most potent tool for personal and societal transformation. Building upon the foundation that thought shapes character, circumstance, and health, the next lesson is that adversity and challenge are reflections of inner thought patterns. Allen teaches that external difficulties are rarely random. They mirror unresolved fears, limiting beliefs, or negative mental habits. Consider an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley struggling with repeated startup failures. The American response often involves mentorship, reflection, and reframing of setbacks, essentially aligning thought patterns with constructive problem solving. Globally, social innovators in India or Africa who face bureaucratic hurdles, limited resources, or societal resistance often succeed by cultivating resilience, clarity, and strategic mental focus. Challenges are not merely obstacles, they are signals that the mind must be consciously disciplined and refined. Closely related is the principle that mastery of thought enables mastery of circumstance. Allen emphasizes that those who cultivate clarity, discipline, and positivity within are empowered to influence the external world effectively. Modern American examples include leaders like Jeff Bezos, who envisioned and created Amazon despite skepticism, translating deliberate thought into transformative impact. Globally, Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh created microfinance systems by imagining possibilities others overlooked, demonstrating that disciplined, constructive thought precedes societal transformation. Mastery of circumstance begins with mastery of the inner mental landscape, how we perceive, interpret, and respond to challenges. The next insight is the interdependence of thought, action, and result. Allen stresses that thoughts alone are insufficient without consistent, aligned action. Visionary thinking must translate into purposeful deeds to manifest outcomes. In the U.S., innovators like Elon Musk or Sarah Blakely exemplify the synergy of vision and execution. Clear, persistent thinking combined with bold, consistent action produce extraordinary results. Globally, community organizers, tech entrepreneurs, and social reformers demonstrate that insights and ideas, when anchored in action, reshape communities, markets, and societies. Thought becomes powerful only when integrated with deliberate, informed action. Allen also teaches that self-discipline is the gateway to personal freedom. True autonomy emerges not from external circumstances, but from mastery over one's mind. Individuals who allow reactive, distracted, or impulsive thinking to dominate are enslaved by circumstance and habit. In contrast, disciplined minds create environments conducive to growth, achievement, and influence. In America, professional athletes, executives, and creatives use structured routines, visualization, and focused learning to cultivate mental discipline. Globally, emerging leaders, spiritual practitioners, and innovators achieve remarkable outcomes by consistently refining their thought patterns, illustrating that self-governance of the mind precedes mastery of life.
The principle of purposeful living is a natural extension of disciplined thought. Allen asserts that aimless mental activity leads to scattered energy, confusion, and dissatisfaction. A clearly defined purpose aligns thought, intention, and action, transforming effort into measurable impact. In modern America, entrepreneurs and innovators channel mental focus into industries, products, and social initiatives with transformative consequences. Globally, social activists, educators, and creative professionals harness purposeful thinking to address pressing societal challenges. From education reform in Africa to technological innovation in Asia. Purpose gives thought direction, energy, and resilience, ensuring that life is intentionally lived rather than passively endured. Another essential lesson is that mental habits are the architects of destiny. Allen explains that the repetitive patterns of thought, whether constructive or destructive, compound over time to shape character, reputation, and circumstance. In contemporary U.S. business culture, practices like journaling, visualization, and habit tracking are consciously employed to develop positive thought patterns and cultivate success. Globally, spiritual practices in Asia, Africa, and Europe serve similar purposes, reinforcing disciplined, positive thought to influence outcomes. Mastery of mental habits ensures that destiny is consciously shaped rather than left to chance. Allen emphasizes that relationships and social influence are reflections of internal thought. The quality of a person's mind affects how they interact, influence, and contribute to society. In America, leaders like Oprah Winfrey exemplify this principle by cultivating insight, empathy, and clarity of purpose, inspiring millions. Globally, educators, activists, and community organizers demonstrate that positive, disciplined thinking multiplies impact, creating networks of influence rooted in constructive mental habits. Relationships are thus a mirror of thought, illustrating that external harmony begins with internal alignment. Closely linked is the notion that joy, serenity, and fulfillment are products of thought mastery. Allen teaches that external achievements alone cannot generate true contentment. It is cultivated through consistent, disciplined, and constructive thinking. Modern psychological research supports this. Practices like mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and gratitude exercises enhance well-being, resilience, and emotional stability. Globally, contemplative practices, from meditation in India to mindfulness retreats in Europe, demonstrate that inner equilibrium emerges from conscious thought. Peace, clarity, and joy are not found externally, they are created internally. Allen also conveys the importance of resilience through thought. Life inevitably presents obstacles, setbacks, and failures. The individual who cultivates disciplined, purposeful, and constructive thought responds to adversity with creativity, determination, and insight. In America, entrepreneurs navigate volatile markets by reframing failures as lessons, exemplifying resilience powered by mental clarity. Globally, innovators in emerging economies leverage resilience and creative problem-solving to overcome systemic obstacles, demonstrating that thought is the key to enduring adversity. Resilient thinking transforms setbacks into stepping stones. Finally, Part 2 underscores the principle of continuous self-improvement and mental vigilance. Allen reminds readers that the mind is a garden. Left unattended, it will cultivate weeds. Tended with care, it will yield abundant fruit. Success, health, character, and fulfillment are cultivated over time through conscious effort, reflection, and refinement. In America, lifelong learners, thought leaders, and entrepreneurs engage in iterative self-improvement, constantly refining strategies, beliefs, and mental habits. Globally, spiritual practitioners, educators, and innovators similarly demonstrate the cumulative power of disciplined thought and reflection in shaping meaningful and impactful lives. The cultivation of the mind is therefore both a personal and universal imperative. As we move deeper into Allen's timeless wisdom, the next critical insight is that thought is the instrument of transformation. He asserts that by consciously choosing, directing, and refining mental patterns, individuals can reshape not only their personal destiny, but also their broader circumstances. Modern American examples abound. Innovators like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Oprah Winfrey demonstrate how disciplined, visionary thinking can transform industries, markets, and cultural landscapes. Globally, leaders such as Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh, Wangari Maathai in Kenya, and Malala Yousafzai in Pakistan illustrate the transformative power of thought in education, environmental stewardship, and social justice. Thought is not passive, it is an active, dynamic force capable of shaping reality when consciously harnessed. Closely intertwined is the lesson of self-responsibility. Allen asserts that individuals are responsible for the quality, direction, and consequences of their thoughts. External circumstances, social, economic, or political, may present challenges, but how one responds is determined by the mind. In America, leaders in education, business, and public service illustrate this principle. They take ownership of choices, continuously refine their thinking, and create impact rather than blame circumstance. Globally, activists, community organizers, and innovators demonstrate similar responsibility, transforming challenges into sustainable solutions through proactive mental clarity. Thought mastery is therefore inseparable from accountability. The inner life directs the outer reality. The next lesson emphasizes the alignment of thought with purpose. Allen teaches that aimless or scattered thinking results in wasted energy and unfulfilled potential, whereas thought directed by clarity and purpose yields meaningful results. In modern America, visionary leaders like Jeff Bezos, who envisioned Amazon as an everything store, translated focused thought into unprecedented achievement. Globally, social innovators like Kailash Satyarthi in India, dedicating decades to eradicating child labor, exemplify how focused thought channels energy toward societal transformation. Purpose serves as the compass, guiding thought to align with meaningful and impactful action. An essential corollary is that habitual thought shapes long-term destiny. Allen illustrates that persistent thought patterns, whether positive or negative, accumulate over time to determine character, circumstances, and achievement. In the U.S., successful athletes, entrepreneurs, and creatives deliberately cultivate daily mental habits, visualization, reflection, and journaling to reinforce productive thinking. Globally, spiritual practitioners, scholars, and innovators maintain disciplined thought routines to foster insight, resilience, and focus. Destiny is not granted by chance. It is a cumulative reflection of habitual mental cultivation. Allen also teaches that health and vitality are inseparable from mental quality. Stress, fear, and negative thought patterns manifest physically, whereas clarity, positivity, and disciplined thought promote wellness. In the contemporary U.S., research in psychosomatic medicine and neuroscience confirms the mind-body connection. Positive mental practices enhance physical and emotional health. Globally, holistic traditions like Ayurveda in India, Tai Chi in China, and contemplative practices in Africa demonstrate similar understanding. Mastery of thought is therefore not only a tool for achievement, but a means to sustain the physical and emotional energy necessary for purposeful living. Closely related is the understanding that relationships are a reflection of inner thought. Allen emphasizes that constructive, disciplined thinking naturally produces positive interactions, influence, and collaboration, while negative or reactive thought patterns foster conflict and discord. American leaders like Oprah Winfrey leverage clarity of purpose and empathy to create networks of influence and inspire millions. Globally, educators, social reformers, and innovators demonstrate that disciplined thought fosters cooperation, trust, and constructive social impact. Relationships thus serve as mirrors, reflecting the quality of the inner mind outward into the world. The principle of serenity and peace of mind is the natural result of disciplined, constructive thought. Allen explains that contentment, clarity, and emotional balance arise from cultivating positive, focused mental patterns. Modern American practices such as mindfulness meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, and gratitude journaling embody these principles. Globally, meditative practices in Asia, Africa, and Europe similarly demonstrate that mental discipline cultivates composure and insight. True peace is cultivated internally. It is the product of intentional thought, not external circumstance. Another pivotal lesson is that creativity and innovation stem from disciplined thought. Allen asserts that when the mind is free, focused, and reflective, it generates ideas capable of transforming life and society. In the U.S., Tech innovators like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk channel disciplined, purpose-driven thought into industry-defining creativity. Globally, artists, engineers, and social entrepreneurs demonstrate that clear, constructive thinking enables solutions and expressions that impact communities, markets, and cultures. Thought mastery allows the mind to move beyond routine patterns and generate ideas that shape destiny. Finally, Part 3 highlights the principle of continuous vigilance and mental cultivation. Allen reminds readers that the mind is a garden. Left unattended, it cultivates weeds of fear, negativity, or confusion. Tended with care, it produces a harvest of insight, clarity, and accomplishment. Lifelong learning, reflection, and self-awareness are the practices that maintain this garden. In the U.S., professionals, creatives, and educators adopt practices to continually refine thought, ensuring alignment with purpose and vision. Globally, spiritual practitioners, innovators, and leaders cultivate thought intentionally, demonstrating that disciplined mental cultivation is both a personal and universal imperative.
As we synthesize Allen's timeless wisdom, the overarching lesson becomes clear. Thought is the master key to life. Every aspect of existence, character, circumstance, relationships, health, creativity, and fulfillment is shaped by the quality and direction of thought. Allen repeatedly asserts that individuals are not victims of circumstance. They are the architects of their own lives. In contemporary America, this principle is exemplified by visionary leaders like Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, and Elon Musk, who translate disciplined, purposeful thought into extraordinary personal and societal impact. Globally, figures such as Malala Yousafzai, Muhammad Yunus, and Wangari Maathai demonstrate that the deliberate cultivation of thought can transform communities, industries, and nations. The first practical insight is that life is a reflection of the mind. By consistently cultivating constructive, positive, and disciplined thoughts, individuals attract circumstances that align with their mental landscape. Entrepreneurs in the U.S., such as Sarah Blakely, illustrate this principle. Her persistence, optimism, and clarity of thought enabled her to navigate rejection and eventually create a billion-dollar enterprise. Globally, social innovators, educators, and creatives transform their environments by consistently applying disciplined, purpose-driven thinking. Allen emphasizes that circumstance does not dictate destiny. The mind shapes reality. From this foundation arises the lesson of purposeful focus. Aimless thought produces scattered energy and unfulfilled potential. Thought aligned with a clear, well-defined purpose generates sustained effort and measurable achievement. In America, leaders and entrepreneurs channel mental energy into projects that reshape industries, cultures, and social norms. Globally, activists, innovators, and educators focus their mental resources on initiatives that address systemic challenges, from education and health to technology and sustainability. Purpose acts as a guiding compass, transforming thought into constructive, impactful action. Closely linked is the principle of habitual thought shaping destiny. Allen emphasizes that the mind is a garden. Repeated patterns of thinking, whether constructive or destructive, compound over time. Positive thought habits cultivate resilience, creativity, and clarity. Negative patterns reinforce fear, indecision, and limitation. In the U.S., successful professionals, athletes, and creatives intentionally cultivate mental habits through journaling, visualization, mindfulness, and reflection to reinforce positive cognitive and emotional patterns. Globally, contemplative traditions, disciplined learning practices, and reflective leadership demonstrate that mastery of habitual thought is a universal tool for shaping destiny. Allen highlights adversity as a catalyst for growth. Challenges and obstacles are not punishments, but reflections of mental misalignment and opportunities for refinement. American entrepreneurs repeatedly transform setbacks into learning experiences, cultivating resilience and insight. Globally, innovators navigating resource-limited or complex environments demonstrate that adversity is a teacher, prompting reflection, recalibration, and ultimately, transformation. Life's difficulties, when approached consciously, become catalysts for mental discipline, growth, and achievement. Self-responsibility and accountability emerge naturally from thought mastery. Allen asserts that individuals are fully responsible for their mental patterns, choices, and the consequences that follow. In the U.S., leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives embrace ownership of their decisions, continuously refining thought and action to achieve personal and societal impact. Globally, social innovators and educators take proactive responsibility for shaping communities through thoughtful, deliberate initiatives. Responsibility is the practical extension of mental mastery. It converts insight into deliberate, ethical action.
Another key lesson is relationships and social influence as reflections of thought. Allen teaches that the quality of mental patterns directly shapes interactions, influence, and collaboration. Oprah Winfrey's global influence stems not only from her professional acumen, but from clarity, empathy, and purpose-driven thinking. Globally, educators, community organizers, and social entrepreneurs demonstrate that constructive thought produces networks of positive influence, enabling collective growth and social transformation. Relationships are mirrors of the mind, reflecting and amplifying inner clarity and discipline. Allen further emphasizes serenity, joy, and inner equilibrium as natural outcomes of disciplined thought. True contentment is not contingent on external circumstances, but emerges from mental clarity, focus, and consistency. In the U.S., mindfulness, cognitive behavioral strategies, and reflective practices are increasingly applied in corporate, educational, and personal contexts to cultivate mental stability and creativity. Globally, contemplative traditions from Asia to Africa affirm that disciplined thought fosters serenity, emotional balance, and insight. Inner peace is the fruit of a cultivated mind. The principle of creativity and innovation emerging from thought is essential for personal and societal impact. Allen demonstrates that a clear, disciplined mind is a fertile ground for ideas, solutions, and visionary action. Entrepreneurs in America, innovators in emerging economies, and creative leaders across industries consistently show that disciplined, constructive thought produces transformative ideas. Thought becomes a source of contribution and influence, shaping industries, communities, and cultural landscapes. Finally, Allen underscores continuous mental vigilance and cultivation. The mind, if left unattended, will cultivate disorder, negativity, and limitation. Through conscious, consistent effort, reflection, journaling, mindfulness, study, and purposeful engagement, mental patterns are refined, directing life toward fulfillment, impact, and freedom. Globally and in the U.S., leaders, innovators, and creatives demonstrate that deliberate cultivation of thought produces not only personal achievement, but also social benefit. In conclusion, As a Man Thinketh presents a profound, motivational framework. The mind shapes character, circumstance, relationships, health, creativity, and ultimately destiny. By cultivating disciplined, purposeful, constructive thought, individuals gain the power to navigate adversity, create impact, and live intentionally. From entrepreneurs in America to social innovators globally, countless examples validate Allen's timeless principle. Thought is the architect of life. The challenge and opportunity are universal. What thoughts will you cultivate today, and what life will you build as a result? If this message resonated with you, subscribe and join us for more wisdom that fuels growth.